Hello friends. Now I am going to read another part of the book Meditation, First and Last Freedom. It's from my master Osho, and it will help you to learn about the techniques and also to understand what meditation is. Yes. So I'm going to start now to read the third part. It's very long, the third part, so I might split it up into two separate parts. Sorry, I think it's part number 2. It's not the third part actually. It's the second part I'm going to read now. Okay. So part number 2, the science of meditation. Methods and meditations. Techniques are helpful because they are scientific. You are safe from unnecessary wandering, unnecessary groping. If you don't know any techniques, you will take a long time. Techniques are helpful. With a master with scientific techniques, you can save much time, opportunity and energy, and sometimes within seconds you can grow so much that even within lives you would not have been able to grow that much. If a right technique is used, growth explodes. And these techniques have been used in thousands of years of experiments. They were not devised by one man, they were devised by many seekers, and only the essence is given here. You will reach the goal because the life energy within you will move unless it comes to the point where no movement is possible. It will go on moving to the highest peak. And that is the reason why one goes on being born again and again. Left to yourself you will reach, but you will have to travel very, very long, and the journey will be very tedious and boring. All techniques can be helpful, but they are not exactly meditation. They are just a groping in the dark. Suddenly one day, doing something, you will become a witness. Doing meditation like dynamic or kundalini or whirling, suddenly one day the meditation will go on, but you will not be identified. You will sit silently behind, you will watch it. That day meditation has happened. That day the technique is no longer a hindrance, no longer a help. You can enjoy it if you like an exercise. It gives you a certain vitality, but there is no need now. The real meditation has happened. Meditation is witnessing. To meditate means to become a witness. Meditation is not a technique at all. This will be very confusing to you because I go on giving you techniques. In the ultimate sense, meditation is not a technique. Meditation is an understanding, awareness. But you need techniques because that final understanding is very far away from you. Hidden deep in you, but still very far away from you. Right this moment you can attain it, but you will not attain it because your mind goes on. This very moment it is possible and yet impossible. Techniques will bridge the gap, they are just to bridge the gap. So in the beginning, techniques are meditations. In the end, you will laugh. Techniques are not meditations. Meditation is a totally different quality of being. It has nothing to do with anything, but it will happen only in the end. Don't think it as it has happened in the beginning, otherwise the gap will not be bridged. Begin with effort. Meditation techniques are doing because you are advised to do something. Even to meditate is to do something. Even to sit silently is to do something. Even to not do anything is a sort of doing. So in a superficial way, all meditation techniques are doing. But in a deeper way, they are not, because if you succeed in them, the doing disappears. Only in the beginning, it appears like an effort. If you succeed in it, the effort disappears, and the whole thing becomes spontaneous and effortless. If you succeed in it, it is not a doing, then no effort on your part is needed. It becomes just like breathing, it is there. But in the beginning there is bound to be effort, because the mind cannot do anything which is not an effort. If you tell it to be effortless, the whole thing seems absurd. In Zen, where much emphasis is put on effortlessness, the masters say to the disciples, just sit, don't do anything. And the disciple tries. Of course, what can you do other than trying? In the beginning, effort will be there, Doing will be there, but only in the beginning as a necessary evil. You have to remember constantly that you have to go beyond it. A moment must come when you are not doing anything about meditation, just being there and it happens. Just sitting or standing and it happens. Not doing anything, just being aware, it happens. All these techniques are just to help you to come to an effortless moment. The inner transformation, the inner realization cannot happen through effort because effort is a sort of tension. With effort you cannot be relaxed totally. The effort will become a barrier. With this background in mind, if you make effort, by and by you will become capable of leaving it also. These methods are simple. Each of these methods which we'll be discussing has been taught by someone who has achieved. Remember this. They will look too simple, and they are. To our minds, things which are so simple cannot be appealing, because if techniques are so simple and the abode is so near, if you are already in it and the home is so near, you will look ridiculous to yourself. Then why are you missing it? Rather than feel the ridiculousness of your own ego, you will think that such simple methods cannot help. That is a deception. Your mind will tell you that these simple methods cannot be of any help, that they are so simple they cannot achieve anything. To achieve divine existence, to achieve the absolute and the ultimate, how can such simple methods be used? How can they be of any help? Your ego will say that they cannot be of any help. Remember one thing, ego is always interested in something which is difficult, because when something is difficult there is a challenge. If you can overcome the difficulty, your ego will feel fulfilled. The ego is never attracted toward anything which is simple. Never. If you want to give your ego a challenge, then you have to have something difficult devised. If something is simple, there is no appeal, because even if you can conquer it, there will be no fulfillment of the ego. In the first place, there was nothing to be conquered. The thing was so simple. Ego asked for difficulties. Some hurdles to be crossed, some peaks to be conquered. And the more difficult the peak, the more at ease your ego feels. Because these techniques are so simple, they will not have any appeal to your mind. Remember, that which appeals to the ego cannot help your spiritual growth. These techniques are so simple that you can achieve all that is possible to human consciousness to achieve at any moment that you decide to achieve it. First, understand the technique. I have heard a story about an old doctor. One day his assistant phoned him because he was in a very great difficulty. His patient was choking to death, a billiard ball was stuck in his throat, and the assistant was at a loss for what to do. So he asked the old doctor, "What am I supposed to do now?" The old doctor said, "Tickle the patient with a feather." After a few minutes, the assistant phoned again, very happy and jubilant, and said, "Your treatment proved wonderful." The patient started laughing and he spat the ball out. "But tell me, from where have you learned this remarkable technique?" The old doctor said, "I just made it up. This has always been my motto. When you don't know what to do, do something." But this will not do as far as meditation is concerned. If you don't know what to do, don't do anything. Mind is very intricate, complex, delicate. If you don't know what to do, it is better not to do anything, because whatsoever you do without knowing is going to create more complexities than it can solve. It may even prove fatal. It may even prove suicidal. If you don't know anything about the mind, and really you don't know anything about it, mind is just a word. You don't know the complexity of it. Mind is the most complex thing in existence. There is nothing comparable to it. And it is the most delicate. You can destroy it. You can do something which then cannot be undone. These techniques are based on a very deep knowledge, on a very deep encounter with the human mind. Each technique is based on long experimentation. So remember this. Don't do anything on your own, and don't mix two techniques, because their functioning is different, their ways are different, their bases are different. They lead to the same end, but it means they are totally different. Sometimes they may even be diametrically opposite. So don't mix two techniques. Really, don't mix anything. Use the technique as is it given. Don't change it, don't improve it, because you cannot improve it, and any change you bring to it will be fatal. And before you start doing a technique, be fully alert that you have understood it. If you feel confused and you don't really know what the technique is, it is better not to do it, because each technique is for bringing about a revolution in you. First, try to understand the technique absolutely rightly. When you have understood it, then try it. And don't use this old doctor's motto that when you don't know what to do, do something. No, don't do anything. Non-doing will be more beneficial. The right method will click. Really, when you try the right method, it clicks immediately. So I will go on talking about methods here every day. You try them. Just play with them. Go home and try. The right method, whenever you happen upon it, just clicks. Something explodes in you and you know that this is the right method for me. But effort is needed, and you may be surprised that suddenly one day one method has gripped you. I have found that while you are playing, your mind is more open. While you are serious, your mind is not so open, it is closed. So just play. Do not be too serious, just play. And these methods are simple. You can just play with them. Take one method, play with it for at least 3 days. If it gives you a certain feeling of affinity, if it gives you a certain feeling of well-being, if it gives you a certain feeling that this is for you, then be serious about it. Then forget the others. Do not play with other methods. Stick to it at least for 3 months. Miracles are possible. The only thing is that the technique must be for you. If the technique is not for you, then nothing happens. Then you may go on with it for lives together, but nothing will happen. If the method is for you, then even 3 minutes are enough. When to drop the method? All the great masters say this, that one day you have to drop the method, and the sooner you drop it, the better. The moment you attain, the moment awareness is released in you, immediately drop the method. Buddha used to tell a story again and again. 5 idiots passed through a village. Seeing them, people were surprised because they were carrying a boat on their heads. The boat was really big. They were almost dying under the weight of it. And people asked, "What are you doing?" They said, "We cannot leave this boat. This is the boat that helped us to come from the other shore to this shore. How can we leave it? It is because of it that we have been able to come here. Without it, we could have died on the other shore." The night was coming close, and there were wild animals on the other shore. It was as sure as anything that by the morning we should have been dead. We will never leave this boat. We are indebted forever. We will carry it on our heads in sheer gratitude. Methods are dangerous only if you are unaware. Otherwise, they can be used beautifully. Do you think a boat is dangerous? It is dangerous if you are thinking to carry it on your head for your whole life out of sheer gratitude. Otherwise, it is just a raft to be used and discarded, used and abandoned, used and never looked back at again. There is no need, no point. If you drop the remedy, automatically you will start settling in your being. The mind clings. It never allows you to settle in your being. It keeps you interested in something that you are not, the boats. When you don't cling to anything, there is nowhere to go. All boats have been abandoned. You cannot go anywhere. All paths have been dropped. You cannot go anywhere. All dreams and desires have disappeared. There is nowhere to move. Relaxation happens of its own accord. Just think of the word relax. Be, settle, you have come home. One moment all is fragrance, and the next moment you are searching for it and you cannot find where it has gone. Only glimpses will happen in the beginning. Slowly, slowly, they become more and more solid. They abide more and more. Slowly, 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 very slowly, they settle forever. Before that, you cannot be allowed to take it for granted. That will be a mistake. When you are sitting in meditation, a session of meditation, this will happen, but it will go. So what you are supposed to do between sessions? Between sessions, continue to use the method. Drop the method when you are deep in meditation. The moment comes as awareness is getting purer and purer, when suddenly it is utterly pure. Drop the method, abandon the method, forget all about the remedy, just settle and be. But this will happen only for moments in the beginning. Sometimes it happens here listening to me. Just for a moment, like a breeze, you are transported into another world, the world of no mind. Just for a moment, you know that you know, but only for a moment. And again the darkness gathers, and the mind is back with all its dreams, with all its desires and all its stupidities. For a moment the clouds had separated and you had seen the sun. Now the clouds are there again. It is all dark and the sun has disappeared. Now even to believe that the sun exists will be difficult. Now to believe that what you had experienced a moment before was true will be difficult. It may have been a fantasy. The mind may say it might have been just imagination. It is so incredible, it looks so impossible that it could have happened to you. With all this stupidity in the mind, with all these clouds and darknesses, it happened to you. You saw the sun for a moment. It doesn't look probable. You must have imagined it. Maybe you had fallen into a dream and seen it. Between sessions start again, but be in the boat. Use the boat again. Suggestion for beginners. Enough space. When you are trying to meditate, put the phone off, disengage yourself. Put a notice on the door that for 1 hour nobody should knock that you are meditating. When you move into the meditation room, take your shoes off because you are walking on sacred ground. Not only take your shoes off, but everything that you are preoccupied with. Consciously leave everything with the shoes. Go inside unoccupied. One can take 1 hour out of 24 hours. Give 23 hours for your occupation, desires, thoughts, ambitions, projections. Take 1 hour out of all this, and in the end you will find that only that 1 hour has been the real hour of your life. Those 23 hours have been a sheer wastage. Only that 1 hour has been saved, and all else has gone down the drain. The right place. You should find a place which enhances meditation. For example, sitting under a tree will help. Rather than going and sitting in front of a movie house or going to the railway station and sitting on the platform, go to the nature, to the mountains, to the trees, to the rivers where Tao is still flowing, vibrating, pulsating, streaming all around. Trees are in constant meditation, silent, unconscious. Is that meditation? I'm not saying to become a tree, you have to become a Buddha. But Buddha has one thing in common with the tree. He's as green as a tree, as full of juice as a tree, as celebrating as a tree. Of course, with a difference. He's conscious, the tree is unconscious. The tree is unconsciously in Tao, a Buddha is consciously in Tao. And that is a great difference, the difference between the earth and the sky. But if you sit by the side of a tree surrounded by beautiful birds singing, or a peacock dancing, or just the river flowing, and the sound of running water, or by the side of a waterfall and the great music of it, find a place where nature has not yet been disturbed, polluted. If you cannot find such a place, then just close your doors and sit in your own room. If it is possible, have a special room for meditation in your house. Just a small corner will do, but especially for meditation. Why especially for meditation? Because every kind of act creates its own vibration. If you simply meditate in that place becomes meditative. Every day you meditate, it absorbs the vibration when you are in meditation. Next day when you come, those vibrations start falling back on you. They help, they reciprocate, they respond. When a person has really become a meditator, he can meditate sitting before a movie house, he can meditate on the railway platform. For 15 years I was continuously traveling around the country continuously traveling day in, day out, year in, year out. Always on a train, on a plane, in a car. That makes no difference. Once you have become really rooted in your being, nothing makes a difference. But this is not for the beginner. When the tree has become rooted, let winds come and the rain come and let clouds thunder, it is all good. It gives integrity to the tree. But when the tree is small, tender, then even a small child is dangerous enough, or just a cow passing by, and that is enough to destroy. Okay. Be comfortable. A posture should be such that you can forget your body. What is comfort? When you forget your body, you are comfortable. When you are reminded continuously of the body, you are uncomfortable. So whether you sit in a chair or you sit on the ground, that is not a point. Be comfortable, because if you are not comfortable in the body, you cannot long for other blessings which belong to deeper layers. The first layer missed, all other layers closed. If you really want to be happy, blissful, and then start from the very beginning to be blissful. Comfort of the body is a basic need for anybody who is trying to reach inner ecstasy. Begin with catharsis. I never tell people to begin with just sitting. Begin from where beginning is easy, otherwise you will begin to feel many things unnecessarily, things that are not there. If you begin with sitting, you will feel much disturbance inside. The more you try to just sit, the more disturbance will be felt. You will become aware only of your insane mind and nothing else. It will create depression. You will feel frustrated and you will not feel blissful. Rather, you will begin to feel that you are insane, and sometimes you may really go insane. If you make a sincere effort just to sit, you may really go insane. Only because people do not really try sincerely does insanity not happen more often. With a sitting posture, you begin to know so much madness inside you that if you are sincere and continue it, you may really go insane. It has happened before so many times. So I never suggest anything that can create frustration, depression, sadness, anything that will allow you to be too aware of your insanity. You may not be ready to be aware of all the insanity that is inside you. You must be allowed to get to know certain things gradually. Knowledge is not always good. It must unfold itself slowly as your capacity to observe it grows. I begin with your insanity, not with a sitting posture. I allow your insanity. If you dance madly, the opposite happens within you. With a mad dance, you begin to be aware of a silent point within you. With sitting silently, you begin to be aware of madness. The opposite is always the point of awareness. With your dancing madly, chaotically, with crying, with chaotic breathing, I allow your madness. Then you begin to be aware of a subtle point, a deep point inside you which is silent and still, in contrast to the madness on the periphery. You will feel very blissful. At your center there is an inner silence. But if you are just sitting, then the inner one is the mad one. You are silent on the outside, but inside you are mad. If you begin with something active, something positive, alive, moving, it will be better. Then you will begin to feel an inner stillness growing. The more it grows, the more it will be possible for you to use a sitting posture or a lying posture. The more silent meditation will be possible. But by then things will be different, totally different. A meditation technique that begins with movement, action, helps you in other ways also. It becomes a catharsis. When you are just sitting, you are frustrated. Your mind wants to move and you are just sitting. Every muscle turns, every nerve turns. You are trying to force something upon yourself that is not natural for you. Then you have divided yourself into the one who is forcing and the one who is being forced. And really, the part that is being forced and suppressed is the more authentic part. It is more major part of your mind than the part that is suppressing, and the major part is bound to win. That which That which you are suppressing is really to be thrown, not suppressed. It has become an accumulation within you because you have been constantly suppressing it. The whole upbringing, the civilization, the education is suppressive. You have been suppressing much that could have been thrown very easily with a different education, with a more conscious education, with a more aware parenthood. With a better awareness of the inner mechanism of the mind, the culture could have allowed you to throw many things. For example, when a child is angry, we tell him, "Do not be angry." He begins to suppress anger. By and by, what was a momentary happening becomes permanent. Now he will not act angry, but he will remain angry. We have accumulated so much anger from what we were just momentary things. No one can be angry continuously unless anger has been suppressed. Anger is a momentary thing that comes and goes. If it is expressed, then you are no longer angry. So with me, I would allow the child to be angry more authentically. Be angry, but be deep in it. Do not suppress it. Of course, there will be problems. If we say, be angry, then you are going to be angry at someone. But a child can be molded. He can be given a pillow and told, be angry with the pillow, be violent with the pillow. From the very beginning, a child can be brought up in a way in which the anger is just deviated. Some object can be given to him. He can go on throwing the object until his anger goes. Within minutes, within seconds, he will have dissipated his anger and there will be no accumulation of it. You have accumulated anger, sex, violence, greed, everything. Now this accumulation is a madness within you. It is there inside you. If you begin with any suppressive meditation, for example with just sitting, you are suppressing all of this. You are not allowing it to be released. So I begin with catharsis. First, let the suppressions be thrown into the air, and when you can throw your anger into the air, you have become mature. If I cannot be loving alone, if I cannot be loving only with someone I love, then I'm not really mature yet. Then I'm depending on someone even to be loving. Someone must be there, only then can I be loving. That loving can be only a very superficial thing. It is not my nature. If I'm alone in the room, I'm not loving at all. So the loving quality has not gone deep. It has not become a part of my being. You become more and more mature when you are less and less dependent. If you can be angry alone, you are more mature. You do not need any object to be angry. So I make a catharsis in the beginning a must. You must throw everything into the sky, into the open space, without being conscious of any object. Be angry without the person with whom you would like to be angry. Weep without finding any cause. Laugh, just laugh, without anything to laugh at. Then you can just throw the whole accumulated thing. You can just throw it. And once you know the way, you are unburdened of the whole past. Within moments, you can be unburdened of the whole life, of lives even. If you are ready to throw everything, if you can allow your madness to come out, within moments there is a deep cleansing. Now you are cleansed, fresh, innocent. You are a child again. Now in your innocence, sitting meditation can be done. Just sitting or just lying or anything, because now there is no mad one inside to disturb the sitting. Cleansing must be the first thing, a catharsis. Otherwise, with breathing exercises, with just sitting, with practicing asanas, yogic postures, you're just suppressing something. And a very strange thing happens. When you have allowed everything to be thrown out, sitting will just happen, asanas will just happen. It will be spontaneous. Begin with catharsis and something good can flower within you. It will have a different quality, a different beauty, altogether different. It will be authentic. When silence comes to you, when it descends on you, it is not a failed thing. You have not been cultivating it. It comes to you. It happens to you. You begin to feel it growing inside you, just like a mother begins to feel a child growing. When I used to lead meditation camps myself, there was one method where every afternoon all the participants in the camp used to sit together and everybody was allowed to do whatsoever he wanted. No restriction, just he was not to interfere in anybody else's work. Whatever he wants to say, he can say. If he wants to cry, he can cry. If he wants to laugh, he can laugh. And 1,000 people. It was such a hilarious scene. People you could never have imagined. serious people doing such stupid things. Somebody was making faces, putting out his tongue as far as he can, and you know that this man is a police commissioner. One man I cannot forget because he used to sit in front of me every day. He was a very rich man from Ahmedabad, and because his whole business was the share market, he was just continually on the phone. Whenever this 1 hour meditation would begin, within 2 or 3 minutes he would take up the phone. He would start dialing the numbers, hello, and he would say, it looked from his face as if he was getting the answer, purchase it. This would continue for 1 hour, and he was again and again phoning to that place, and once in a while he would look at me and smile, what nonsense I'm doing, but I had to keep absolutely serious. I never smiled at him, so he would again start phoning. Nobody is taking any notice, everybody is engaged in his own work. 1,000 people doing so many things, and these things were continuously going on in their minds. This was a great chance for them to bring them out. It was such a drama. Jayanti Bai used to be in charge of the camp in Mount Abu, and one of his closest friends took off all his clothes. That was a surprise. Jayanti Bai was standing by my side, and he could not believe it. That man was a very serious man, very rich. What was he doing in front of 1,000 people? And then he started pushing the car in which I had come to the place. It was Jayanti Bai's car. We were in the mountains, and just ahead there was a 1,000-foot drop, and he was naked pushing the car. Jayanti Bai asked me, what has to be done? He's going to destroy the car, and I had never thought that this man was against my car. We are close friends. So I told him, you push it from the other side, otherwise he's going to. So he was stopping the car, and his friend was jumping around and shouting, get out of my way, I have always hated this car. Because he did not have an imported car, and this was an important car which Jayanti Bai was keeping for me. I was coming to Mount Abu 3 or 4 times a year, so he was keeping that car just for me. His friend must have been feeling jealous inside that he did not have an imported car. And then a few people, seeing the situation, rushed to help. When he saw that so many people were preventing him, just out of protest, he climbed a tree in front of me. Naked, he sat in the top of the tree, and he started shaking the tree. There was every danger that he would fall with the tree on top of the 1,000 people. Jayanti Bai asked me, what has to be done now? I said, he is your friend, let him be, don't be worried. Just move the people to this side and that, and let him do whatsoever he is doing. Now he is not destroying the car, at the most he will have multiple fractures. As people moved away, he also stopped. Silently he sat in the tree. After meditation was over, he was still sitting in the tree, and Jayanti Bai said, now get down, the meditation is over. As if he woke up from a sleep, he looked all around and saw that he was naked. He jumped out of the tree, rushed to his clothes and said, what happened to me? In the night he came to see me and he said, this was a very dangerous meditation. I could have killed myself or somebody else. I could have destroyed the car, and I am a great friend of Jayanti Bai's, and I had never thought, but certainly there must have been this idea in me. I hated this idea that you always come in this car, and I hated the idea that he has got an imported car, but it was not at all conscious in me. And what was I doing in the tree? I must have been carrying so much violence in me, I wanted to kill people. That meditation was immensely helpful. It relaxed people in 1 hour so much that they told me, it seems a heavy load has disappeared from the head. We were not aware that we were carrying in the mind. But to become aware of it, there was no other way except an unlimited expression. It was only a small experiment. I told people to continue it. Soon you will come to many more things, and one day you will come to a point where all is exhausted. Remember, only not to interfere with anybody, not to be destructive. Say anything you want to say, shout, abuse, whatever you want, and exhaust all that you have been collecting. But this is a strange world. The government of Rajasthan introduced a resolution in their assembly that I cannot have camps in Mount Abu because they had heard all these things were happening there. People who are perfectly right become almost mad, start doing any kind of things. Now the politicians in the assembly don't have any idea of the human mind, its inhibitions, and how to exhaust them, how to burn them. I had to stop that meditation because otherwise they were not going to allow me to have camps in Mount Abu. So, thank you for listening and watching. This was all for the moment of the first part of part 2. Sending you love and light. Namaste. Bye bye.